Let me share my story with you quickly here. About 1990, I discovered that I was going to need a career change, and that career change was going to have to take place pretty quickly. I don't want to get into the details as to why that happened, but believe me, it was a majorly traumatic issue for me. And so I started a business doing something that I actually loved to do, something that I was talented and gifted and had the ability to be able to do, but it wasn't really where my passion was at. The whole time I'm operating a cabinet and door shop is what I was doing, and the whole time I'm doing that, I'm enjoying it, but I began to have some other issues that came along. I had some health issues, some things that were taking place, and then I had a problem with the economy. The economy tanked, and the area that I was in could no longer support a shop like mine. So what happened was, one day I'm sitting on a bucket in the middle of my shop, wondering what I'm going to do next. I know I'm going to have to close. I know I'm going to have to move on. I know something different is going to take place. So my wife walks in and she looks at me and she says, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm sitting here thinking about what I can sell." And she said, "Well, you can sell anything that's here. I don't care. It doesn't make any difference to us." And I said, "No, that wasn't what I was referring to. I wanted to know what I could sell for a living. What in this room could I sell for a living?" And she said, "Oh, that's an interesting perspective. I hadn't thought about that one." And I said, "Well, I'm thinking that what I need to do is I need to find something in this room that I can sell. And I've got some ideas. I've got some stuff lined up here. And I'm going to start calling the phone numbers here in the owner's manuals. I'm going to start calling people and see if there isn't a way for me to be able to do that." So the first thing that I did, first company that I called was this spray equipment that was there. And I called that spray equipment company and I said, "If you're ever looking for a sales rep, I'd be the ideal guy for you. You know, I've used your equipment. I enjoy it. I like it. It is, and I believe I could probably make a really, really good sales rep for you." So the guy agreed to meet me. My first call, the guy agrees to meet me. So I fly into Chicago to meet him. And we're in Chicago and we're having a conversation. I'll never forget. He says, "So what do you think you can do for," and he named his company. And I said, "Well, let me tell you, do you remember Lee Iacocca and what he did for Chrysler?" And he goes, "Do you think you're Lee Iacocca?" I said, "No, I think you're Chrysler and you're in trouble and I can help you." And he said, "Okay, I'm going to give you a shot." So I began my career as a sales rep, working for this company and trying to make things happen and from a sales perspective. And so I took them, they were hovering at about fourth place in the marketplace. I took them in the span of the first year. I took them from fourth place to first place. And I increased their sales by more than 70% of their very best time ever. Now, that wasn't the most challenging thing I ever did. But every day I did this. Every day I got up in the morning and I walked into the bathroom. I looked in the mirror. I was on the road most of the time. I looked in the mirror and I said, "I'm going to be the best salesperson on the planet." And the next day I got up in the morning and I looked in the mirror and I said, "I'm going to be the best salesperson on the planet." And I kept doing that, and then nothing really changed during that time. And then one day I said, "Okay, that's wrong." And I walked in and looked in the mirror and I said, "You are the best salesperson on the planet. You are the best salesperson on the planet." And immediately sales began to skyrocket. Immediately I began to look at things in a different light. Immediately I started seeing things in a different way, because all of a sudden I had realized that if I was going to be successful, I was going to have to act as if. That's completely different than fake it till you make it. I was going to act as if I knew exactly what I needed to do. I was going to act as if there wasn't a problem I couldn't solve. I was going to act as if when I walked in, I had the solution that business owner was looking for, and I knew how to make it happen. That's different than fake it. Fake it starts out with a fake, and I can't fake it. But I could act as if I could do that. So I began to act as if I could do that. And then I became a sales trainer. And I went through the same process. I'm going to be the best sales trainer. No, wait a minute. I have to act as if. And when I began to act as if, things began to change. And if you'll learn as a sales rep to act as if. Now let me tell you 3 stories. And a young man, his name was Adam. Adam lived here in town. Adam came to one of my sales training programs, and he heard me talking about acting as if. And he learned how powerful that statement, act as if, was. He was 21 years old. His first sale, he made enough money to buy a car. And he bought this car, and he was so excited about it, and he gets another appointment. He gets an upscale appointment. He gets a great opportunity with his second appointment, and he walks in, and the owner beat him up. And he called me later, and he said, Eric, you won't believe what I did. I said, the more he would beat on me, the more I would act as if I had had that happen to me 100 times. And the more difficult question that he asked me, the more I would act as if it was not a difficult question. I had to answer these things all the time. And he said it gave me a confidence that I needed in order to be successful. But he said the best part of the story is the guy called me the next day and offered me a job. The bad news is I'm going to take the job. The good news is I did it because of what you taught me, to act as if. I had Steve DeMonico. Steve was the number one salesperson in 1969. He was the number one sales rep for Snap-on tools. He was the first guy ever to sell $100,000 worth of tools in a year, and it was in 1969, and the tools he was selling were screwdrivers. He sold $100,000 worth of screwdrivers. And one day Steve and I were driving down the road, and I'm thinking, what am I going to be able to teach Steve DeMonico? This guy's a rock star. He's got a gold watch. He was the first guy ever to get a Snap-on tool truck. He's the best that there is. He sold $100,000 worth of screwdrivers. We're driving down the road one day, and Steve threw a problem out at me, and I said, Steve, I have a solution for that. He said, you do? I said, yeah. Give me your phone. We're going to call Brian's Tools. And we called Brian's Tools, and we said, what if we did this? And Brian's Tools said, cool. We can do that tomorrow. Let me hook you up. Steve goes, how did you think of that? I said, I act as if there's not a problem I can't solve. One day, my wife and I were driving across Nebraska, of all places. There's nothing to see in Nebraska. We're driving across Nebraska, and I get a phone call. It's a guy in Houston, Texas, and he said, Eric, I need you to come to Houston, Texas tomorrow at 8 o'clock. And I said, I'm halfway across the state of Nebraska. I don't even know if I can get home by then. And he said, no, I need you to be in Houston at 8 o'clock in the morning. Do I need to call somebody? Do I need to make arrangements? What do I need to do? And I said, don't worry, Roger, I'll make it happen. So I schedule a flight. I get to Houston, Texas. We fly in. He throws in my lap the Google map of where we're going, and I'm giving him directions, and we pull into this place, and we drive up to this guy's office, and it's a replica of the Alamo. A replica of the Alamo here in Houston, Texas. Oh, cool. And we walk in. Guy's name is Bud. He owns ICED, the International Center for Entrepreneurial Development. And I'd been called there to solve a problem that they had. I don't even know what the problem is. I walk up the stairs. I walk past Bud's office. I thought, I'm going to stop and stick my head in the door. So I open the door. Hey, my name is Eric. I just want to let you know I'm here. I'm going to talk with you. And he says, I set them up in the room across the hallway. Go over and visit with them. He says, I'm going to tell you, I have already told them whatever idea that you come up with, whatever solution that you have, I'll write the check for it. I was acting as if there wasn't a problem we couldn't solve. Greatest talent that I ever developed as a salesperson was to learn how to act as if. The most important thing that you can do are those 3 words, act as if. Because when you begin to act as if, there's not a problem you can't solve, there's not a solution that you can't come up with, there's not something that you can't bring to the table that's going to elevate the position of the people that are in the room. you'll be unstoppable as a salesperson.